Hello everyone. Today we'll be making challah bread adapted from Jeffrey Hamelman's book, or more correctly pronounced,
Challah
in Hebrew.
If you'll notice right now, all the ingredients are on the screen. This would be a good time to pause and write those down. Challah is one of my favorite breads to make because it's fairly simple, and it was one of the first ones that I learned to make as a child. It takes time, but most of that time is hands-off. It's what's called a straight mix, so all of the ingredients are just going to go straight into the mixing bowl together, as we can see right here. And all we're really looking for is we really want to bring those ingredients together so that they're fully incorporated. You can tell I've sped it up here a little, but typically I set my mixer to medium to high speed depending on how full the bowl is. If you want to make this by hand, it is totally possible to mix and knead it by hand. It's just a little faster in the mixer. If you'll notice, I just scrape down the edges. If you don't do that, you can end up with hard bits of unhydrated or dry flour, and those hard bits will never get moist later on. They're going to just stay hard and chunky. So what I'm looking for here now is just that it all comes together. And then I'm going to finish it up by just kneading it a little bit to kind of smooth it out and get it a little less sticky. So as we're kneading it, get an ample amount of flour on your fingers so it doesn't stick to you too much. And I'm just pushing away from myself with the heel of my hand. I'm not trying to stretch it too hard or tear it. I just really want to get it smooth and into a nice, even shape. So then I just tuck it all under, brush off any excess flour. Put it in a well-oiled bowl. It can be pan sprayed if pan spray is what you have, just so that it doesn't stick as it proofs. Now proofing is when our yeast gets to work. So yeast is fermenting and eating those carbohydrates and producing both alcohol for flavor and carbon dioxide, which causes it to rise. And we want it to about double in size. Once it's done that, we're going to take it and cut it into 6 different portions. I'm making 1 loaf of bread in this. If you would like to make more, you can just cut more pieces. And then we're going to lightly shape it into some rounds. This will just help get that dough a little bit stronger, hold together a little nicer, make the shaping a little easier. And then you just go ahead and set them to the side, and those you want to let rest for about 10 minutes. If you try to shape them now into their final shape too soon, you might tear the dough, tear those gluten strands, which we really don't want. So we'll just let that relax a little bit. Go ahead and repeat that with all of your portions. If you're making a single large loaf like I am, you'll have 6 portions. If you're making more smaller loaves, you may have more than that, 12 or even more. I'm going to show you how to make 6-strand challah today. So I take each of those rounds and I press it down in the center and start to roll it out. Think of making a snake out of Play-Doh when you were a kid. So you just really want to push it out, and I always push from the center to the outside edges, being very careful not to tear the dough. It's kind of fun and relaxing, and then you'll go ahead and do that with the rest of your strands. If your dough doesn't want to spread out and it just wants to slide on your counter, adding a tiny bit of moisture with a damp towel can help it stick a little bit better. And I always start again from the inside and go to the outside, working my way out gradually. I made my strands about 12 to 16 inches long. If you want to make a shorter, fatter piece of dough, you can do that. It's all kind of up to you. And then I'm going to demonstrate a 6-braid challah. You could shape this bread however you want. You could make it out of 3 strands and make it into just a typical 3-strand braid. You could make it into a ball. You could put it in a pan. Just more traditionally, it's some sort of braided form. Now, if we we split them into 3 strands, and we take the innermost strand of the right side, lift it up, and tuck the left one under. Now we pull the outside out again and tip it into the middle. And basically what we're taking is just taking the outside strands from alternating sides over and over, braiding them in, and then tipping them down the center. And as you can see here, I did not keep it in frame very much, so it'll jump here in a second to get it back in frame. And I'm just repeating the same motion over and over. So taking that outside strand, now taking the extra one that I just did down, take the next outside strand, go back to the center, outside strand, center, outside strand, and then center again. And you're just going to go and keep doing that until you get to the end. Now, we're not trying to make this a super tight braid like we would on hair or string because we want it to be able to stretch and proof. We're not trying to make it super tough. And you just stick all those ends back together when you get it down there. Now we're going to let it proof again. You definitely want to cover it with some plastic so it doesn't get a skin on it so that it can keep going. And it'll about double in size, and this is about 1.5 hours to 2 hours depending on how warm your house is. Then we're going to take the egg whites that we didn't use from the original ingredients, add a tiny bit of water to them, and go ahead and egg wash. That's just going to help give us a nice shine and some nice color on our bread. Optionally, you can add some sesame seeds here as well. So this bread, you can see I've got a little nubbin on the bottom. That was just a little extra bread. That's just kind of in a roll. You can use this for rolls. Challah, because it has so many eggs, has a decent amount of fat in it and will be good for a little bit longer than a lot of homemade breads. It also makes delicious French bread if you end up with any extras. Then you're going to bake it in your oven at about 480 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, or until it's kind of really dark and crunchy on the outside and sounds hollow when you tap the bottom. And then you get to eat it and enjoy. Remember that you can make it in any shape you want. This is just one suggestion. And if it comes out looking a little wonky or a little different than you want, just remember it's homemade, it's made with love, and it's artisan no matter what it looks like. Again, leftovers make great French toast. You can make sandwiches, eat it with just bread and honey, whatever you would like. Enjoy.